Let me see. Rabbi and Simcha, good morning. Now, is your name Laura?
No, I'm Yocheved.
Oh, you're Yocheved. Laura didn't come yet. Okay, but Manchester, your name is? Malka.
M for Manchester, M for
Manchester and Malka. Okay. Yeah. My grandmother.
Good morning,
was called
Rabbi
Malka.
Pape.
Oh, very nice.
Very nice, yeah. She was. Thank you. So we have something in common. Yesterday there was a great miracle, tremendous miracle took place in Eretz Yisrael. There was a well-timed, well-coordinated, well-planned out attack on the Jewish people that failed. They had bombs on 3 commuter buses. So and the idea was that they were going to blow up when people were on their way to work. Buses filled with people. And the timers didn't work and the buses blew up with nobody on them. It was a tremendous disaster which was averted by Hashem alone. So if you think your Tillim don't do any good, there you go. What else could have caused the timers not to work? Hannah Esther, can you make timers not work properly? But your prayers could. You can't, but your Tehillim can. Your learning can. When I was learning how to daven, it was very hard. It took me ages and ages, and I had a lot of work to do. And there were certain parts in the davening that were very, very hard to say. A lot of unusual words, new words. And I used to want to skip them, not say them. And I would say to myself, who knows? By you saying these words, everything is connected. Maybe some soldier on his post will move and the bullet will miss him. I would say it. I would take the extra 20 minutes or so to say that prayer. Those were the days when I was really strong in my imuna, strong in my belief, motivated. And you girls are the beneficiaries. Here we go. Chapter 20 of Tehillim, Rivka. Here is Noah.
This is my last class.
Oi,
I'm traveling on Sunday.
where are you going? Israel?
Argentina. I'm from Argentina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm going home on Sunday.
Buenos Aires?
Yeah.
This is Shana, right?
Yeah, you remember my name. Hello, good morning. Sorry for
I don't know why I remember you and do this. Okay, we're all here. Chapter 20, let's go. Lam natsei yavim Rabbi David. Yan haranavim tzari yisadel Hashem Elohei yankev. Hashem should protect all our people. Yishlach ezuhan mikredesh. We should send help from the holy chamber in the base of Migdash, from Mitzion Yisadeka, and support. Yizker kol mechosecha, you should recall all of the offerings that you gave, that you sent. Where Ilasaha, Yadach Nasel, all the burnt offerings. And all your requests he should fulfill. We will rejoice in your salvation. We'll raise the banner of our God on high. He should fulfill all your heart's requests. Now I know Shia Adonai Mashiach Hashem saves his anointed one, that's Mashiach. Yanehu Mishmei Kodshe. He answers him from his holy heavens, Bigavures with might, Yesha, salvation, Yamine from his right hand. Some came with chariots, some with infantry, some with cavalry. We come with the name of God on our lips. They stumbled and fell. We got up and we are stalwart, strong in our places. We're saying all these wonderful things, and yet we see that there's so many things that appear to be not so wonderful. So what's going on? And the answer, my dear children, is that we don't see the big picture. We don't see the big picture. We cannot justify what happened in the Holocaust. We cannot justify what's going on in Gaza with all these wretched hostages who are being tortured, starved, subjected to atrocities, mental abuse, physical abuse. They have Mesiras Nefesh. They didn't ask for it. Avraham Avinu also didn't ask for Mesiras Nefesh. He didn't ask to be thrown into a fiery furnace. But if he had to, because he believed in God, he was prepared for it. So similarly, these people did not ask to be taken hostage, but they have self-sacrifice because they're Jewish. That's the only reason. They weren't taken hostage because of their scholarship or because of their piety. They were taken hostage because they're Jewish. And they're suffering because they're Jewish. And we are the beneficiaries. And all the good deeds we do, you have to understand, girls, my dear girls, that all the good deeds we will do and all the Torah we will learn and everything that we will achieve in our service of Hashem won't come to the ankles of a person who has Mesiras Nefesh. When all the souls after their lifetime are assigned to the places where they deserve to go, we won't even know the address where they are. Hashem should have Rahmanas on them, liberate them, heal them from the suffering that they're going through. Mashiach should come and take us into the Geula out of this Golas. In case anybody forgot that we're in Golas, let him just think about what's going on and not so simply enjoy the benefits of being in America. Okay, chapter 8, we're going to start again from the beginning and we'll go right through it. We've been learning about how a person has a holy Jewish neshama, and together with that, he also has a Yetzer Hara, which makes life interesting. And the goal of the Yetzer Hara is to get you not to do what you can to make the world a better place. We want to make the world into a garden. And like when the river is running and the beaver comes and makes a dam with sticks and logs, and the river backs up, and where it goes through with greater force. So when we are confronted with difficulties and obstacles in serving Hashem, when we serve Hashem, despite that, it has greater force and greater effectiveness. Okay, there's an additional aspect. Now, we're learning about forbidden foods. What does it mean, forbidden? Noah, forbidden means tied down. Practically speaking, we say it's forbidden. We don't want you to go there. Don't take it. Don't eat it. In other words, milk is good if it's from a cow. It's a new thing that's coming out, a new trend. Grass-fed milk. Cows that feed on grass. Of course, it's more expensive. Milk is good. Meat is good if it's kosher animal. If it's salted, you take the blood out. Both good. You say a blessing on them before, after. But if you put them together, you're not allowed to eat them. You're not allowed to cook them. You're not allowed to give them to your non-Jewish neighbor even. You're not allowed to have any benefit from them whatsoever. They have to be destroyed. Because you created a new substance which is forbidden. That is to say, the energy, the godly energy in it is tied down. It's been given over into the hands of extraneous forces. Alias into the hands of the Yetzer Hara. Into the hands of the other side, the bad side. And if you eat it, if you have a cheeseburger, what's going to, heaven forbid, what's going to happen? You will not be able to daven to God. You say, sure, I can daven to God. Give me a siddur, I'll say the words. You won't want to say the words. In fact, this used to be a technique used by the Reform movement in the 1800s when they were getting started. They used to come to the communities, the Städtelach in Eastern Europe, where people were very poor. Nobody had much education, very little education. My grandparents had no education. And they would offer to take the children and educate them and feed them and clothe them. Sounds great. And so the children were given into the hands of these Jewish missionaries, so to speak. And one of the first things that they would do to westernize, to modernize these children who were kept in ignorance in the Jewish communities was, how you wash your hands in the morning? Why do you wash your hands in the morning? Because when a person goes to sleep, he's like dead. Not dead, like dead. And when your neshama comes back into you, life comes into you and pushes this like death out of you. And your body starts to work. You begin to see, you begin to hear, you begin to move, you begin to do all kinds of things, you feel all kinds of things, but the life doesn't get pushed out of your fingernails because there's so little life in them. You can cut them, it doesn't hurt. You can't cut your finger off, it does hurt. It bleeds. Your fingernails don't bleed. So you wash your hands to get the death off the fingernails, and we're very careful to throw that water out. That's called Nagelwasser. So one of the first things that these Jewish missionaries would do was they would tell the children, you believe in a lot of old wives' tales and nonsense and superstition, and we'll prove it to you. You wash your hands this morning, right? Here, take a cup of this water that you wash your hands with and have a drink. You'll see nothing's going to happen to you. They would give them to drink the Nagelwasser. And then after that, the children would have no respect for religion. They had proved to them that nothing happened. I once gave matzahs for Pesach to a young grandson, great-grandson of these children, a reform Jew from Long Island. And he said, oh, I'm going to have this. And I said, don't have it tonight. Save it for the Seder. He said, I'm going to have it tonight. And if that's a sin, let God strike me dead. Like that. Let him strike me dead now. See? Nothing. Same thing, just 150 years later. Yes.
No.
Noah.
Yeah. Why, if the tumah goes under the nails, don't we?
On the nails.
On the
It
nails.
rests on the nails.
Yeah. Don't we need to do netilat on the feet?
Why don't you do on the feet?
Yeah.
That's a very good question.
Very good question.
And you know what?
No.
If a priest was serving in the Beis Hamikdash, he had to do on his feet and his hands. But that you may answer because that's just to get the feet clean, but not just clean, because the non-Jews worship the earth. So you see you read in the Torah about Abraham that when the guests came to him, he gave them water to wash their hands and their feet because they worshiped the dust under their feet, because they understood that the earth has an infinite power of growth in it. They talk about, using up the natural powers in the earth. We're going to grow too much food, so we have to be careful how we grow food. And so we will never, a friend of mine used to say, we will never get to the end of using up the power of growth, infinite, but Hashem planted an infinite power of growth in the earth. Things keep coming up and feeds the whole world. Could you make a system like that? A world in which everything took care of itself? A world with earth that would provide food for all the people who were going to live on your earth? It's amazing. People take it for granted. Okay, so that's the idea of forbidden food. Food that's forbidden is tied down. It's called Isser, which means bound. Okay, chapter 8, page 127. And it's called forbidden, even if a person has food that's forbidden, like a cheeseburger, heaven forbid, or bacon and eggs, and he didn't realize it. He didn't know. And he ate it with a good intention that he's going to serve God with the energy that he's going to get from this food. With the energy he gets from the food, he's going to serve Hashem, and that's what's in his mind. So he has a good intention. Is it going to work? Is he going to be able to learn? No, he won't. You can say, yes, you can. He's going to read the words. He has a brain. He has a heart. He can be affected. He can understand. No, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. There are forces at work that are much more powerful. Like, give you an example. One of the mitzvahs of this week's Parsha is not to bribe, not to accept a bribe, not to give a bribe. What's a bribe? When you want someone to judge for you on your case, you slip him some money, that he should agree with you. Okay. So once a person had a case, and he wanted to make sure that he won his case. What was his case? He said, this land belongs to me. And his neighbor said, no, you moved the boundary. You're stealing land from me. I said, I'm not stealing anything. Yes, you are. No, you're not. Yes, you are. So they go to the judge. The guy wants to win the case. So what does he do? He takes a $50 bill and he just slips it into the pocket of the judge. His coat is hanging on the coat rack, on the hook. And they're arguing the case. And the judge notices, when this guy argues, he makes a lot of sense. Why am I listening to him the whole time so sympathetically? Case adjourned till tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. Goes home, he finds $50 in his pocket. Ha! That's why I was listening to him more than to the other guy, because bribery has an effect. It blinds the eyes and makes wise people foolish. You can't see it, but it works. Similarly, if a person eats cheeseburgers and bacon and eggs, and he learns Torah and tries to daven, it's not going to work. He won't want to do it. Because the energy from the food is tied down. It's asur. Bottom of the page. Ein hachayis sheba oila umislabeshes v'teves hatayra. The energy in the food that he gets from the food will not be absorbed in the words of Torah. It will not be connected with the words of Torah or the prayers that he learns or the prayers that he says. Turn the page. Page 128. Why? Because it's being held, the energy is being held hostage in Gaza, in underground tunnels, and not allowed to see the light of day. That's the words. Mipenei isura bidei hasitra achra, because it's being held hostage by the sitra achra. Misholish klippas atameus, from the 3 impure klippas. Another reason, Noah, that you don't ask the figure to wash, because the Torah is very normal. Torah wants normal people. If people are going to get up in the morning, they can wash their hands very easily and throw it to water. But people are going to have to wash their feet, they're not going to do it. It's too difficult. It's not. Torah isn't here to make your life difficult. It's here to make your life holy. But it's a good question. Who knows? Maybe somewhere in the codes of Jewish law, it's probably answered. You're not the first one to think of the question. That's the thing about learning Talmud. The sages think of all the questions. They think of every possible question. So when you learn it, it's very interesting, but also you live through it. It takes away all your difficulties, okay? But afilu iser derabanan. And you say, yeah, but I don't do big isurim. I don't eat bacon and eggs. Torah says don't eat bacon. Don't eat a pig. The Torah says don't eat milk and meat. Very, very clear words. I stay away from that. But what about if I eat food that just has a rabbinical warning on it? Just the rabbis made a fence around the Torah. What's a fence? If you have a rose bush, make a fence around the rose bush that some dog shouldn't go running through the garden and knock down the roses. So the Torah has made a fence around the mitzvahs. And we keep the teachings of the rabbis, which are a fence, very carefully. In fact, in many cases, we're more careful about the teachings of the rabbis than even about the teachings of the Torah. So I'm not allowed to have milk and meat together, but what about if I have an hour later, 2 hours later, 3 hours later, after I had a beef burger, and 3 hours later, I have some cottage cheese. I'm at a different meal. I'm in a different place. It's 3 hours later. There's no taste of meat in my mouth. No, it's not going to work, because the rabbi said, they made a fence around it. They said 6 hours after meat before you have dairy. 6 hours. That's a rabbinical injunction. It doesn't say in the Torah, wait 6 hours. The rabbis say wait 6 hours. I'm only concerned here because I'm breaking a teaching of the rabbis. Maybe that'll be okay. Maybe it won't be usher. Maybe it won't be tied down. Says the Tanya here, a general rule from the Talmud, from the teaching of the Talmud, is a very important rule. We are more stringent about the teachings of the sages than we are about the teachings of the Torah itself. Because the teachings of the sages are meant to enable us to keep the teachings of the Torah. And therefore, we're very, very careful about them, even though they're only a fence around the Torah. But that fence became a holy fence. Why do we have to listen to the rabbis? Good question. I was waiting for no one to ask me. Why do we have to listen to the rabbis? Isn't it enough to listen to Moshe Rabbeinu? And the answer is yes. That's also a good question. However, Malka, Moshe Rabbeinu tells us in the Torah, gives us a commandment to listen to the rabbis. So that when you listen to the rabbis, you're doing a twofold thing. You're listening to the rabbis, but you're also listening to Moshe Rabbeinu. The written Torah tells you to listen to the rabbis. So it's a double mitzvah. And therefore, it says here, page 128, second paragraph, last few words, we are more stringent about the teaching of the rabbis than the teachings we got from Moshe Rabbeinu in the Torah. Lochein, third paragraph, Gama Yetzahara, V'koichem Misava, the Devarim HaSurim. Now, the Tanya is going to tell you something. This is Kabbalah, girls. You want to learn mysticism? Here it is. It's coming out at you. There is a special Yetzirah every doctors have specialties. Sometimes you have to go to a doctor for your this, and you go to a doctor for that. You go to a doctor for your eyes, you go to a doctor for your ears, you go to a doctor for your kishkas. Heaven forbid, there's certain Jewish diseases in the kishkas. You have all kinds of diseases. Some people have different problems. You go to the Yetzer Haras also have specialties. So there's a specialty, Yetzer Hara, that specializes in getting people to do things that are forbidden. It's a specialty. There's another Yetzer Hara for Lashon Hara. There's Yetzer Hara for all kinds of, there's Yetzer Hara for immorality. There's a Yetzer Hara for slander. There's a Yetzer Hara for depression, to be depressed, all kinds of Yetzer Haras. Okay, so that's what it says here, that there's a Yetzer Hara for lust, for desiring to have pleasure from food. And here he says it's L'Dvarim Asurim. A Yetzer Hara, his whole goal is to get you to eat forbidden foods. Who shade, and this is a demon. We can call it a demon. It's a negative, powerful negative force. You can't see it, but you can suffer from it. I don't know, Rabbi, I don't know why I have this desire on Pesach to have hot dogs on a bun. Why? Why on Pesach do I don't know, I just have a craving for it. It's so hard for me to keep Pesach. So hard. Hear people talk about how hard it is for them to keep Pesach. They'll eat matzahs on Pesach, but it's so hard for them to stay away from sandwiches on bread. And similarly, all kinds of other Yetzer Haras we learned about in chapter 1. Shadim Nachroim. So these are called specialty Yetzer Haras, Goyish Yetzer Haras. Why are they called Goyish? Non-Jewish? Because they make you crave for non-Jewish things. Non-Jewish fashions, non-Jewish talk, non-Jewish attitudes, non-Jewish music. So they're called Shadim Nachroim, Goyisha demons. Shehu Yetzer Hara Shel Umas Ha'olam, and they are part of the great general Yetzer Hara of the nations of the world. That's where you say, we have a neshama. What about the Goyim? Do they have a neshama? No. They have a Yetzer Hara. They have an animal soul. The animal soul has 7 commandments. And if the non-Jew fulfills the 7 commandments, he or she is a righteous person. But outside of the role of those 7 commandments is forbidden things. That's not righteous. Nonetheless, what is their natural inclination? Well, a non-Jewish person, you may think that I'm very prejudiced. I am. Especially when we look at what's going on in the world today, in the Middle East. The Arab people are a cruel, malicious people. They like to torture people. They like to kill people. Someone sent me a story for the magazine. I can't publish it now because it's too painful. It was written a year ago, 2 years ago. You know what it described? It described a pogrom, how the Arabs rose up and totally destroyed a Jewish village, a Yemenite village in Jerusalem about 150 years ago. And it's a whole story. That's just a detail in the story. But that's where do they get that character? That's the demon, that is the Yetzer Hara, an Arab Yetzer Hara. And it says in the Torah that the Yishmael is a murderer. He tried to murder Yitzchak, and his children have murdered Jews for thousands of years. And the Torah says about him, his hand will be against all people. He will be a robber in the wilderness, in the deserts, and he will rob people traveling from place to place. And we see it. Right? It's not prejudiced, it's facts. So this is what he's talking about. The souls of the nations, every nation is different. There's a different Yetzer Hara for every kind of day, every different nations. In Germany, 100 years ago, not quite, 56, 70 years ago, the Yetzer Hara of the nation was murdering millions of people with tremendous efficiency. Tremendous. They had it worked out. Unbelievable. Okay. Now, so we understand there is such a thing as a Yetzer Hara, a non-Jewish Yetzer Hara, but let's end on a good note that there's such a Yetzer Hara also for a Jewish Yetzer Hara. A Jewish Yetzer Hara, yes. Because there's permissible things that are not forbidden to us, but there's a Yetzer Hara that can get us to try to do permissible things in the wrong way, in a self-centered way. Okay, I'm going to have to stop here because the time is up. But at least we ended with a Jewish Yetzer Hara. And the good thing about a Jewish Yetzer Hara is the following. That if you have a Yetzer Hara, we've learned in the previous chapter 7, if I have a Yetzer Hara for things that are not permissible, then I have to do a very, very deep tshuva to rescue the energy that I gave into the hands of the non-Jewish Yetzer Hara that made me do things that are forbidden from the Torah. What about the Jewish Yetzer Hara? Well, the Jewish Yetzer Hara has an advantage to it. What is it? It is a Yetzer Hara. And the energy that I give over to doing things in the wrong way, but they're kosher things. So what happens? So the energy goes into the vaults, so to speak, the storage vaults, the underground tunnels of the Jewish Yetzer Hara. But the IDF can rescue them. Jewish soldiers can come and rescue them. In other words, when you do tshuva, and now you do the permissible thing, you eat Jewish kosher food with a kosher stempel on it, and it's 100% kosher, and you eat it in order to serve Hashem, not because you like it, you eat it to have the energy to do mitzvahs. Then retroactively you redeem the food that you ate selfishly because you just love it. Give me some more. I'll have another helping of 7-layer cake. Have another piece. You read about the way the Hasidim of a previous generations used to behave. They never quite finished their plate and they never asked for seconds. Try it. Leave over 1 spoonful. You want to control your appetite? Don't fast. Have you ever told a friend of mine, don't fast. Fasting is forbidden because it will make you proud and arrogant, and you won't serve God well either. You'll put you in a bad mood. Don't fast. But if you want to control your appetites, choose one food that you really like on the plate and leave over 1 spoonful. Try it. See if you can do it. It's not easy because you have to break. You're really enjoying it and you're stopping it. Oh, that's the idea. You're doing this. I'm doing this for you, Hashem. Yeah, Malka.
What do you do when the Yetzer Hara is trying to creep in when a really good thing is happening?
It's trying to what?
It's trying to come into your life when a really good thing.
What did Mordechai do? Purim is coming up. What did Mordechai do when Haman went by and said, "Bow down to me"?
No.
What did Mordechai do?
Yeah.
He tapped his foot. He put his foot down. That's why we go like this when we mention Haman's name. Because earlier in life, they had to travel through a desert together on a mission from the king, Ahasuerus. And Haman, being a selfish person, used up all his water. And he begged Mordechai to give him water. He said, "Why should I give you water? You're my enemy." He said, "Larry, you're killing me." "Okay, you want me to give you my water? Write down that you sell yourself to me as a slave. I'm your master and you're my slave." He says, how can I write it down? We're here in the desert. He says, "Write it on my shoe." So he wrote on shoe, "I, Haman, give myself to Mordechai to be his slave in return for water." And so when Haman said, bow down to me, and he had his idol around his neck, Mordecai just tapped his foot. Just remember who you are, Mr. Haman. And that's what you have to do. When you feel the Yetzer Hara is pulling you away, put your foot down. I know who you are. I'm not interested. Get some other sucker. I'm not your sucker. You don't have to get up when I come in, and you don't have to get up when I leave. I give you an official dispensation. You don't have to.
Isn't there a halacha though? You need to?
What?
Isn't there a halacha that you need to rise when the Torah scholars?
It's a good thing, but I told you, I gave you a dispensation. You don't have to do it.
But what if you wanted to?
Thank you, Shabbat Shalom, thank you.
Have a wonderful Shabbos. Mention a happy others that from now for the next 30 days till Pesach, happiness is on the increase. Everything's on the increase.
Amen.
Good Shabbos. Yeah.